So, good evening and welcome to the African Diaspora News Channel. We'll be turning our attention to East Africa, where Tanzania is facing its deadliest post election crisis in decades. Authorities there have detained a senior official from the main opposition party, Chadema, amid a sweeping wave of arrests that followed last week's violent protests. Chadema says its Deputy Secretary General Amani Golugwa was arrested by police on Saturday. Authorities say they are now seeking 9 more people connected to the unrest, including the party Secretary General, John Yinka, and Head of Communications as well, Brenda Rupia. These arrests come after President Samia Suluhu Hassan was declared the winner of the election with 98% of the vote. A result the opposition and international observers have rejected as undemocratic. Chadema and several human rights groups says more than 1,000 people were killed by security forces during the protests. The government calls that figure exaggerated, but it has not released its own numbers.
Streets infuriated by the exclusion of the main opposition candidates from the presidential race. The number of injuries and reported deaths are still unconfirmed. Amidst the media blackout and the shutdown of internet and phone services, it was difficult to monitor the situation. People tore down election posters, attacked police stations, and destroyed ballot boxes. Reports of protests in other parts of the country.
According to Chadema's internal count, about 350 people were killed in Dar es Salaam, 200 more in Mwanza, and hundreds of others across the country, bringing the estimated death toll to around 700. The United Nations Human Rights Office says it has received credible reports of at least 10 deaths, while Amnesty International says authorities carried out enforced disappearances, arbitrary arrests, and extrajudicial killings before and after the vote. Police have charged more than 200 people with treason, a charge that still carries a death penalty in Tanzania. Although no executions have taken place since 1995, security forces insist the crackdown is justified, calling the protesters criminals who, quote, planned, coordinated, and executed an evil act. But opposition leaders argue the unrest erupted because they were blocked from contesting the election and because of widespread reports of ballot stuffing and intimidation. Tundu Lissu, the leader of Chadema, was already facing treason and cybercrime charges and was barred from running for president earlier this year. Another opposition figure, the Wagapina of the Act Salib Lendo Party, was also disqualified from the ballot, leaving President Hassan with only minor challengers. On election day, demonstrations broke out in cities across Tanzania. Witnesses reported heavy police and military presence, tear gas and live rounds being fired into crowds. Internet access was cut off nationwide and protests spread. The government then imposed a curfew to contain the political unrest. Despite the violence, Samia Suluhu Hassan was sworn into office on Monday. The ceremony was televised but closed to the public, and it was also held at a military parade ground in the capital. The United Nations has called for restraint, urging Tanzanian security forces to avoid unnecessary or excessive force and for protesters to demonstrate peacefully. Chadema is calling on the government to stop the killings and free detained activists. They're also demanding the creation of a transitional government to prepare for free and fair elections. President Hassan's administration insists the elections were free and fair and says it will continue pursuing those responsible for what it calls political violence. Samia Suluhu Hassan made history in 2021 as Tanzania's first female president after the death of John Magufuli. She was initially praised for opening political space, but activists now accuse her of reversing course and returning the country to an era of repression, hundreds behind bars, and the true death toll still unknown. But we'll continue to follow this developing story and bring you updates as more information becomes available. For the African Diaspora News Channel, I'm Whitney Mckoy. Until next time, stay informed, stay connected, stay safe.